Today is Thursday, February 26th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Mayor Mike Johnston, welcome back to CityCast Denver.
Thank you for having me. Great to be back.
And producer Paul Karolyi is here as well.
Hey, what's up, Bree?
Well, I'm starting with a personal gripe.
Great.
Before we get into anything. And it probably actually involves something that you have no control over, but I'm upset about it nonetheless.
We still want you to answer for it.
Good.
Yeah, I need you to answer for this state office. But I went to the DMV actually right down the street here at the Elber Wedgeworth Municipal Building. And I got there at 6:45, 15 minutes before they opened. And there was a line of 40 people already. And then I waited in line for 40 minutes. And then I got in and I got a little ticket and they're like, it'll be about another 40 minutes. And I was like, I have to go to work. So what is the deal? Why is it?
I'm actually quite surprised by that because we've gotten very good feedback on faster and faster lines. I mean, the people, yes, are wonderful, but generally the service has been much faster. So I have to figure out day, time. Was there a staffing issue?
It was
I don't know.
Tuesday.
And were you renewing your license? What were you doing?
No, I had to get new plates because my mom gave me her car. And so...
Bree's a Nissan Leaf person now.
Oh,
now I have the hubris of a person that drives an electric vehicle. And I have special parking everywhere like I already had, but now it's upped because I have an EV.
Well, I am quite surprised. Let me check with our DMV, and you have to tell me date and time, and I'll get back to you on it. But normally they track timeliness of people that come through the line and the amount of wait time, and it's a big source of pride for us that wait time has gone down dramatically. So that is a little unusual, but let me figure out and get back to you on the answer on that.
I'll ask you about your votes for my personalized license plates later. But
I would love to know.
Are you doing it?
I'm thinking about it.
Oh, you have to.
I know, but when you get down to it, it's like then it's like kind of pressure. You got to pick something that's you, but like funny to other people.
Not embarrassing.
Here's my only request. You're not doing the black and white plate, are you?
Oh, God, no. You didn't hear me railing against the basicness of the black and white plate. I would never.
You two are both wrong then. I love the black and white plate.
The black and white plate is what you have if you live in New Jersey because you have nothing else in your state to talk about except for a black and white plate. When you have the greatest mountain range of any of the 50 states, you probably should put that on your plate.
Or the green chili, the Pueblo chili license plate. There's lots of options.
I mean, Avs, Nuggets, Broncos, we got many, many plates.
So... Okay, I'll get back to you on that part.
Let's talk about the news.
Let's talk about real stuff.
I don't want to talk about license plates anymore. The news. It seems like, here's our theme for today is it seems like you've been changing your mind a lot recently. There's a bunch of stuff. Basically, every topic we wanted to talk to you about was like in the last 2 weeks, there's some new direction or like some reversal of policies. And that's kind of the first question is like, did something happen? Was there a new poll?
No, not at all. I'm excited to talk topic by topic because I don't feel like I've changed our minds on things. I think I do reserve the right to get more informed and smarter as things go. And so that is my job as a leader and a learner is you listen to feedback and you see what's working, you see what's not, and you do make changes. So I'm not a believer that making changes is a sign of weakness. I think it's a sign of strength. It's a sign that you're learning and getting smarter. And so I'm happy to talk topic by topic, but there's no substantive reason for modifying positions. There's a way of looking at what's working, what's not, and what will work best. But I think maybe it was Emerson that said that that predictability is the hobgoblin of simple minds. It's like there is a point at which you should not always expect to be doing the same thing all the time. You should expect to learning from what you're doing and get better.
That's Ralph Waldo Emerson.
I think so, but it could be misattributed. I just have it vaguely in my mind somewhere.
Interesting. Okay. Well, first topic. Let's just get right to it. The hot topic of the week we think is data centers.
Yes.
One of many hot topics, but the hottest after this town hall last night. We saw the folks who were building this one up in Elyria, Swansea were supposed to be there. And then a bunch of community activists showed up. They filled the room, and then the core site people didn't show. But this comes after you announced a new policy, a moratorium on building new data centers in Denver. A few of these things have already been built, but now it feels like people are upset. So what happened? What changed your mind that you thought moratorium is the right move now?
Yeah, so I said when I announced the moratorium, we want to build more data centers. We think we need to build more data centers. Unless people are going to stop using their phones or stop using ChatGPT or stop streaming Netflix at a public park, we will need more data centers. But the key is we need a framework to figure out how, when, and where to build them. Right now, they literally don't exist in the city code. We have had data centers for a long time. So in my Instagram post, you probably saw, the gas and electric building in downtown, the beautiful lighted building that's been there for more than 100 years. The entire inside of that building is a data center. It's been there for 20 years. Most people walk by it, don't know that. So we do have them in the city.
Yeah, I didn't know
But the
that.
data centers built 20 years ago have a very different set of demands. Think about the amount of data you were using 20 years ago pre-iPhone versus what you're using now. Dramatically different. So the new ones have different designs, different requirements, different demands on water and electricity. And we want to think strategically about where we should put them, what we should expect them to do, and how we should permit them. And so for me, this is not a no, never to data centers. It's a let's get a thoughtful approach to how and when and where we would use them and what we would expect of them. And I think that's in the best interest of all of our residents, the best interest of our climate goals, and it's in the best interest of a stable and predictable business environment.
And you said this moratorium is for a few months, correct?
Yeah, our goal is we have to look at what the impact is, what the parameters are, what the guidelines would need to be in the city code, what the either zoning or building code requirements would be, and then rule make around that. So this is not meant to be a year-long or multiple year-long moratorium. It's meant to be a time to pause so we can build the right set of guidelines to go forward. Because otherwise you could have, right now, folks could buy a property anywhere in the city and plan to build a data center there. We could get 6 in one neighborhood. We could get 0 in any neighborhood. But so I think we want to have a more thoughtful approach to what the energy and water demands will be and then where we should put them.
I think the neighborhood part is really important here, though, because this moratorium is coming after Core Civic is well into building this one in Globeville area, Swansea, a neighborhood that has historically been mistreated, and the neighborhood itself has been fighting against a lot of issues, especially environmentally, for decades. And I just wonder if we're thinking about where we were building them in the future, was this not a conversation before that one was started being built?
This one has been in the pipeline for years. I think even before I became mayor, it was already underway. But the key is they have a plan for 3 data centers, the one that's being built now and 2 future centers. And so this pause would mean any of the regulatory requirements that would come in place would affect the next 2 centers that are set to be built in that neighborhood. And so the one that is already permitted and under construction, that's true, that is already moving. But it does allow us to have a broader conversation about the impact of future data centers on that site or in other neighborhoods.
And they're supposed to get 3 in GES.
They got zoning and permitting approved, or they got zoning approved to do 3. They've not gotten permits for the other 2.
Would we see it in like a Wash Park area? Like, are we like in the future, are these going to be in other neighborhoods? Because I mean, just optically thinking about what this neighborhood has been through, I could see it saying, this feels a little unfair that it's just here.
It depends on how we design them. So I'd encourage people to go walk by the gas and electric building downtown. You will never notice that it's there. So there are strategies like, for instance, could we use empty commercial space in downtown to convert into data center space? That would be a great win-win for people if that reconstruction is possible. There's a question about, do you do it in far more open areas of the city, like by the airport or others but then if you're going to do that, you need electric and water utilities to get access there. Where do we have that kind of access? And so I think that's why we want to have a coordinated plan, is not just let them randomly pop up wherever someone buys a piece of land and goes for a zoning approval. But I think that goes to a strategy point of how could we manage for water? How do we manage for electricity? How do we manage for noise? Either what mitigations can they put in place, or how would we help choose sites based on limiting that impact?
Yeah, those are the questions for sure.
But that's not a shift in my position on this. I mean, no one's asked about data centers before this topic came up, and we said we want this to be a tech hub in the city. It's a great growing industry for us, and also we want it to be one of the greenest cities in the country. We want to be the first city to get to 100% renewables. And when those things are in conflict, you have to manage that dilemma. It
does feel like they're in conflict. I mean, Did you hear from the core site people after the moratorium? Were they upset about this? 'Cause presumably they want to start making money on these new places.
They were, I believe, and Councilman Watson can clarify this, the reason they pulled out of the event was not because of the moratorium. They did because, I think, of some of the posts that some folks put out, sort of instigating and encouraging people to come and call out the dirty data centers. I think they thought that meant it was going to be a hostile environment that wasn't open for informed conversation. And I think that mobilizing by some members of city council was what had them say, this doesn't seem like a productive conversation.
I'm talking about you and the perception from some people in the business community that Denver's not open for business.
Oh yeah, no,
because that's what a moratorium is. It's basically saying we're not open for this business right now.
I've gotten a lot of calls about that in the last few days. We went to visit Councilman Cashman and I went to visit CoreSite's facility. We met with their team. We asked them all these questions before we made this decision. And I've said to those people that called frustrated, the same thing I've said to you, which is we do acknowledge we need them and we will have to build them. We're not saying no or never. We are saying there has to be a framework to figure out where they go and how they are put there and what their commitment is around water and electricity usage. So I think I said the same message to those business leaders that we have to the advocates that were worried.
You've taken a tour. You just said you and Cashman took a tour. I've been asking for a tour for a long time. I'd love to take this tour and ask them these questions about water and power. Apparently last night, this town hall, Xcel and Denver Water was there, and folks I heard that were there said these guys can't answer anything. They don't know. And CoreSite didn't show up, so we have no idea what the effects are on water and power. So what did they tell you?
We did not tour the new site. We toured the existing site.
The downtown one?
The downtown site.
Okay.
So you just got to see all the infrastructure, how it works, how it looks, how it operates. And to me, this is also why you want to put this pause on, as it allows for civil conversation among folks who disagree about what a plan is going forward. I think last night seemed like it wasn't set up to be that. We'll have future community conversations to do it, but I think we're more than happy to ask those questions and get those answers. We have to do that to be able to make this work.
Let's move on. Flock?
Okay. Yeah, we should. I
never heard of it.
Did you have more questions, Paul?
I mean, yes, but we got it. These
Okay.
other things are really important too. Flock.
We could do a tour together. I'll see if we can do something together.
I'd
if
love
you want
to
do that.
Yes.
I find it very interesting. There's a lot to learn in this space, and I think this is one where there are people on both sides who want some version of the same thing, which is to provide responsible data and to not have negative impacts in the neighborhoods. And we should find a way to do both.
That's what makes it a great story for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, Flock. Let's talk about
Flock.
Flock.
Never heard of it. Let's talk about it.
Yes.
You defended the contract extension you signed for their AI-powered license plate readers, but then earlier this week, you announced that you're dropping Flock in favor of one of their competitors, Axon. What changed for you?
So what I said when we did the initial contract negotiation is my job is to balance two values. One is protecting civil liberties all across the city and is protecting public safety. And we think we needed a partner that could do both of those. As concerns increased about Flock, we both modified the terms of that arrangement to make sure there was no access for ICE data or ICE sharing in the new contract, but also to say, let's then put out an RFP and let's get feedback from all the community residents on what the things are they would want to be true about a partner. Then let's put out a bid to find that best partner. And so one of the reasons why we had to do a short-term extension was to buy ourselves time to see if Flock would be the right partner or if there was a better partner. And when we got that feedback from community, they gave us really clear data on what they wanted. We put out an RFP looking for that. And the single best applicant for that community criteria was Axon. And in large part because they have the highest level of data security and data storage, the most trusted evidence.com database that holds all of the body-worn camera footage we use to hold officers accountable is stored there and has been really successfully stored there. And so we went out to market and found this best-in-class provider, and so that's the one that we chose. So for me, that is an extension of the same belief, which is we want to both protect public safety with responsible license plate readers, and we want to make sure we have a partner that matches all the values the city has around protecting and securing data.
I'm just thinking about folks whose criticism is like, there's still data being stored that could be accessed, or I'm thinking about how many data breaches have you been through as just a consumer or person in the world? How is this still, how can you be sure that that is not a concern with Axon or Flock or whoever might be the provider?
So I want to talk just about Axon because that is the reason we selected them. And I'm happy to go into as much nerd depth as you all want to, because I know you like the details. So the way in which the data storage is structured is the same level of protections you have for your medical data. So like, how much do you worry that on any given day, someone's going to hack your entire medical records and put them on the internet? That has not happened to me. I imagine it has not happened to you. It's called FedRAMP High. It is the highest level of data encryption. And to just go a little bit into it, it means both that the data is encrypted at rest, which means that both at any time, even if the data is still in a camera and it is accessed, you could never actually unlock the data without an encryption key that Denver uniquely has. So there's highest level protections to not be able to breach the data in the first place. And if you do breach it, it's still encrypted once you get to it, which means you'd have to have Denver's encryption key, which is why we have never had a breach that I'm aware of a body-worn camera in the city, because it uses that same evidence.com standard. Evidence.com is the gold standard for security data storage. And that's why. And importantly, Axon does not have a national lookup database. They don't have cities around the country. They don't offer, they're not focused on that search function. So for us, this is Denver only data. None of the other surrounding counties or use Axon. And so it will not be, the benefit is not to tie yourself into a national network.
But is it that they're not using it yet? Or is it, is Axon just growing?
They're not using it now, but ours is an invitation-only system. So no one could have access to our database unless we invited Jefferson County in. One of the concerns about Flock was you are a part of a national database of cities and states who use this system, and it was stored in the same place. Here, this is stored in a Denver-only site, only for Denver usage by Denver police officers, with the encryption I just described that is the highest and best that is out there.
And that's the plan forever, as far as you know, with Axon and their way things would be accessed.
We've also opted out of no new updates in technology without our explicit approval. So we've said no use for AI and training on AI for algorithms. So we've opted out of all those to say what we want is just a functioning camera system that can help us read license plates in the city and county of Denver. And I think, and I know that there are a handful of your listeners and a small number of folks who say no cameras ever at any point in any place. And I respect that position, but that is not consistent with how the city operates right now. If you wanted that, you would never be able to take an HOV lane on I-25 or I-70 because that uses license plate reader technology. We use license plate reader technology to enforce some of our parking meters. That's how you know if we've been there for 2 hours or 4 hours when a vehicle drives by. That's how we have been working hard to reduce traffic fatalities, is by the use of speed cameras, which are the single most powerful deterrent to speeding in the city. And so I think it would be to decide to make the city less safe to say we'll shut all of them off and never do them. I think I wouldn't support that, but there is a way to say they should be responsible and they should reflect our values. And I think this partnership does that.
What makes you think that, you said that they're the most secure of the proposals that you got. What makes you think that they're secure enough?
Because we have used our body-worn cameras every day for, years, maybe since 2020, 2021. That is the largest amount of data we gather every day in the city through camera databases, as an officer that has not every single time that they go into any contact with the resident. And we've never had a breach of that data. We've never had a sharing of that data. We've never had problems with that data. And that is what people, that around the country that are focused on the most secure way to get. And this is data that we store for the purposes of public accountability, right? Like body-worn camera data is not what we use to track down criminals. It is what people use to be able to feel like they can hold law enforcement accountable. That is the data source that does that. And so if the question here is, where's a data source that we really trust to be both unbreachable and to be usable in a way that is publicly accountable, we think this is that gold standard.
Another piece of this that was interesting, speaking of ways that you've maybe changed your approach recently, is that the Denver Post reported that you are going to take this new contract with Axon to City Council through the approval process, even though it's only for $150,000, which is below the threshold legally, like that you would have to get their approval for. That's not what you did last time. Council has been unanimously against this Flock thing in the past. So what changed your mind about involving council?
Well, in that situation, we needed a short-term extension to find if the previous partner worked or if we needed a new one. We didn't want to shut off access while we did that. But when we bought ourselves the time to do that and found the right partner, we believe we can now work collaboratively with council to make this partnership with a new partner work. So I think there was a lot of concern about what council's feedback would be. And so we wanted to make clear both we went through a thorough public process to get feedback and to choose a new vendor, and that we'll be happy to have that conversation in public in front of council.
Did you get anyone from council to weigh in on the proposals?
We did. We talked to the council members who were on the task force about the about this feedback.
Okay.
Sorry, not to review
That's
the
like Sarah
bids.
Parody.
Not to review the bids.
Okay.
I don't review the bids. That's a safety team decision. But we did ask them about going to other vendors. We asked them for what criteria they would most want to see from any vendor. And so that's Councilman Flynn is on that. Councilman Gonzalez-Gutierrez are both on that task force. We were talking with the leadership, which is President Sandoval. So we kept them informed about this. We've briefed all the council members that took briefings about this process. So we've kept them all informed.
So what about generally? Because this was a criticism you've experienced before. People were like, when the Excel franchise deal was up last fall, people were like, why did that go to council without anyone from council talking, like being part of the process to build the buy-in beforehand? Is this a new? Are you seeing the value of this collaboration more now? Has something changed there?
I think we're yes, we're doing more and more. We can be more collaborative up front. And I think in Excel last time we did a negotiation with Excel directly, and then the council did a negotiation with Excel separately. And there are versions of which were different bodies of the government, and so the legislative body can do their own negotiations on that. But the overlapping negotiations didn't work well. So the council president and I sat down and said, this time let's do first a stakeholder group of community members who can give feedback on the Excel franchise, which is up and running now. And then the council president and I are sitting down and meeting with Excel directly to negotiate all three parties of us together. Council president will get feedback from her members. I'll get feedback from my team, and we'll negotiate with Excel directly. And so I think that's a good improvement that's working.
Okay.
We're so back.
We're so back? What do you mean?
The council-mayor relationship. It's all working.
Okay. That's how you feel? I don't know if they feel that way.
I'm trying to add a little levity.
Okay.
But no, I think we're working hard to always find ways to make it work more functionally. And each day is a step forward, right? I mean, we had a great Councilman Cashman, Councilman Watson, and I all did the data center announcement together. We don't all agree 100% on the path for data centers. Councilman Cashman will say that. He's in a slightly different spot than where I am.
Yeah, I think he wanted a longer moratorium.
Yep. But we're going to work together and figure out a plan to be able to both get an initial moratorium in place, to get the regulations and ordinances in place to make it work. And we'll keep communicating.
Okay, we got to move on to another thing. This is like the opposite of bringing levity. This is a very uncomfortable topic, tangential from the data centers AI conversation. You've made AI a real priority in your administration. One of your biggest backers in terms of like donations to your campaigns, Reid Hoffman, he co-founded LinkedIn as well as at least one AI company that we could find. He attends your annual AI summit. He also appeared in the Epstein Files recently. And this has been, I think, hard for the whole country to process because they just dumped all these documents on us. And I don't know. I mean, there's no formal charges for anyone in there. At least in some cases there are. But this is someone that you've been close to who's backed your career. I wonder how you're handling this.
Yeah, I have not read all of the Epstein Files. As you know, they release huge tranches all the time. I know there was a previous tranche that came out, and there was some documentation that I think he said that he had been to the island before or had been involved in some way, but had never partaken in whatever was happening there. And so I don't know the facts of that story. I don't know what the end result is. I do know that I think that he had answered questions about that the first round. I don't know if there's any new information the second time, but I've not spoken with him about it or read the details of those. And so I don't have any new information other than what you've seen, but I can take a closer look at it.
Alameda?
Okay. Alameda.
Should we go to Alameda?
Yeah, Alameda. Another hot topic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our understanding is that Dottie's current plan is to do a limited
Wait a second. It looked like you were having a feeling just at the word
Did you have a feeling about Alameda?
Did
you have anything you wanted to say about Alameda before I ask you a long, detailed question about this crazy process?
You can ask a long, detailed question, then I'll jump in, because I do have thoughts about Alameda, and I've watched I watch all the stuff that you do, so you can't talk about me behind my back because I know all the things that you say. Okay. And I both have umbrage with the way you've talked about Alameda and the way the public has, and so I'm excited to talk about it.
Well, then why don't you lead? Go for it. Yeah.
Here's my theory. So here's how I feel about Alameda, which is I think the way that the opponents of the current plan have engaged in this topic.
We're talking the Jill Anschutz crowd?
No, I'm talking the other side. And I think actually even that frame for me is part of it, which is like, I think what we're talking about is, like, could you tell me the difference between plan A and plan B? How many bump outs, how many signals, how many turn lanes, how many bike lanes?
I can tell you the big things. Yeah.
What are the big things?
The big thing is 4 lanes or 3.
It's actually 3 or 2.
Okay.
Yeah. But people think there's bike lanes or no bike lanes. There's no change in bike lanes. But the point being, this is a traffic engineering question about whether you do 3 lanes or 2 lanes, and
With a turning lane.
and what the relative impact on the neighborhood is in that trade-off. I'll give you an example. Take Colfax, when we were at 4 lanes on Colfax and we went to construction for BRT. Rough numbers are somewhere around 20 to 30,000 cars a day were on Colfax before we put it under construction from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. Our current data now is it's about half that that's traveling on Colfax now. So that's 10 or 15,000 vehicles that are not on Colfax anymore a day, rough numbers. Where do we think those 10 or 15,000 went? Do we think those are all folks that decided to then put their 2 kids and their drywall business on a bike and ride to and from work? No.
I think a lot of them are driving the wrong way on 14th and 13th.
Those
right
are
now.
cars that are going on other streets to get to the same path, right? And so it is not a complicated deduction to say, if you change a street from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, where will that traffic go? And that's a trade-off. We know that going from 4 lanes to 2 lanes does make a street slower, which is great for some things. If you also asked the learned lemur or anyone else on Colfax or on Alameda, would you rather as a business have 25,000 people coming by your door a day or 10,000 coming by a day? They will say that's also a difference in terms of impact. And so there is a real trade-off here. And I think the concern I have is I think a certain side of this debate has been Trumpian in this conversation, which is to take what is a traffic engineering question and turn it into a conspiracy story about personal attacks. Like even the notion of calling one of the plans the Anschutz plan is itself a conspiratorial argument, right? Like anyone can Cora me. They've Cora me already. I've never spoken to the Anschutzes about this. No one's ever called me, emailed me. I didn't make the decision about it. But the belief is if you just say that enough times over and over, that lie becomes true. It doesn't. And then you have things like people targeting city employees to make them lose their engineering license as retribution for disagreement.
Crazy. That's crazy.
That is not the way you have civil discourse. So on the question of should we go from 4 lanes to 3 lanes or 4 lanes to 2 lanes, how much displacement will there be and what's the outcome? That is a fair question, which is why I agreed the right answer was let's pilot this and see what we find out. So we're going to pilot the version that is 2 lanes, and we'll see how much impact it has on the neighborhood, how much impact it has on through traffic, and if that works.
The original,
if it works, we should do it.
You're piloting temporarily in a limited basis the original
plan. And so rather than projecting what the impact on neighborhood might be, let's test it. And let's see. And if it works great and the neighborhood says no negative impact, then we should keep it. If it turns out the impact is much higher than we thought and the throughput is much lower than we thought, we should relook at it. But for me, that's a reasonable conversation adults can have without throwing conspiracies or false narratives about corruption in city government to solve what is a traffic engineering question.
That aside, I think the thing that I've gleaned from this conversation is that there was active participatory engagement, civic engagement with the community for 5 years.
Yes.
And then it seemed, at least the way that I've understood it, is it was ready to go, but then someone stepped in from the neighborhood. Jill Anschutz happens to be who it was, and said, hey, wait a minute, wait, stop. And I think that's where the frustration comes from is this truly a civic process if it can change after folks in the neighborhood have been working on it for 5 years with the city?
Yeah, I think the misperception is that because people were working on it for a long time, there was consensus agreement on the plan. In the same way that people were working on Colfax BRT for 20 years as an idea. There are folks that 3 months after it opened, business owners there who would say, this is a terrible idea. Why did we do this? Yeah. And how can we stop it? And why did no one ever ask me? I was not a part of that process, so I don't know. But whenever you get closer to an actual decision to say, guess what? Your business will now be shut from 4 lanes of traffic to 2 lanes. Or guess what? Your neighborhood will now have rerouted traffic come through it. People suddenly engage in a different way. So I was not a part of that decision. I was not in any of those public meetings. And so I can't tell you. I can just tell you that what I know is there were strong feelings on both sides. But I think those can be substantive conversations about what are we willing to trade off in terms of diversion of traffic for slowing of traffic. And I would just remind us to our other, because I saw your top 5 list of things I should be worried about list I want to talk about too. On the trade-off of, we have to also remember, as I also was on Colfax this morning and then diverted off of Colfax because it's down to one lane to 13th and 14th to come down, which is also now one lane, right? What was a 10 to 12 minute commute for me to downtown is now a 30-minute commute to downtown. If you can move Colfax from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, but if you move Alameda from 4 to 2 and 6th from 4 to 2 and 13th from 4 to 2 and 14th from 4 to 2 and Colfax from 4 to 2 and 17th and 18th from 4 to 2, you would make every one of those individual streets easier to travel, but you would make people getting to work to and from different parts of the city much more difficult. And so I think that is a balance, which is, I don't know how often you've stood at the corner of Colfax in Colorado. I have a lot. And when you watch the folks driving there, they are, teachers going to their school. They are parents dropping kids off at East High School. They are city inspectors that have to go to multiple locations. They are people with drywall businesses. Those are folks that need their vehicles and still have to get to and from work. And our job as a city is to make sure both you can get to and from work safely and that you can get to and from work in a way that makes it possible for you to live and work here.
Okay. So I want to go back to the what you call the Trumpian approach of making this about a personality and a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Because I have the emails. Some of these street safety activists and neighbors have correlated these emails, and it's not about the time. It's about this phrasing, I think, that it really dates back to this one email from August 14th, which was sent from a Dottie engineer 2 days after meetings with Jason Gallardo, lobbyist hired by Jill Anschutz and Jill Anschutz herself at Blackbird Public House last August. So 2 days after this meeting that she got, because Gallardo used to work at Dottie, this Dottie engineer wrote, "We have been working with leadership to triage some, quote, high-level community and leadership concerns with constructing the project and recently received clear direction on a path forward." So I think what people are upset about is why Jill Anschutz, it gets to be treated as a high-level community concern when people in the neighborhood aren't high-level. And I wonder how you feel about that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that assessment. As someone that makes decisions for the city all the time, we have a lot of people who raise their voices a lot, who we listen to, and we try to balance that feedback. I mean, you mentioned as one of the things to flag is the bike lobby and how their feelings are represented. We spend a lot of time talking to, thinking about, working on partnerships with the bike lobby. 2% of the residents of Denver commute to and from work on a bike, 2%, right? 24% of Denverites voted for Trump, I think, somewhere in that margin. If we were making policy, for that 24% of the city, you would be astonished. But that 2% is a very vocal minority. They're thoughtful, good people. We spend a lot of time with them, not because they're powerful or have money, but because they advocate a lot on issues that they care about. So people advocate on issues for all reasons, because it's in their neighborhood, because it's their passion, because it's their calling. And we try to balance those, but you have to make sure that all those voices are heard and they're balanced. I do not know any decision in the city that I've been a part of or that I reviewed that has been made because one person asked us to do it. That's not the way we make decisions. And it would be particularly silly to allege that we would make that by a family member of the largest Republican donor in the state. Is that who that is? I mean, I think what would be the possible reason?
Who, Phil Anschutz?
Yeah.
You know how people think about this.
Right,
like maybe she's going to donate to a future campaign if she gets the way she wants, and you're thinking about the money. You're thinking about
right.
What
but
people think.
that conspiracy would require that happened. That person told me. I went to the donor records to look how much the Anschutz have given. I don't even know this Anschutz. I don't know which. This is Jill. Is the sister?
Jill,
I think I've actually met her. I played hockey against her daughter when I was her sister when I was maybe 14.
Okay.
But I don't believe any Anschutz of any sort has ever given money to me. I don't know if that's true, but none that I know of. But this conspiracy would allege, what it implies is that happened. Someone called me. I said on the red phone, "Oh no, that's a major donor. We have to make sure and give them whatever they want." There's no fact base to support any one of those pieces of evidence. And what the opponents found was this as a juicy story to sell, which is it must have been the Anschutz factor that changed the decision, when in fact it could have been a no-name small business on the corridor who was suddenly very worried about their foot traffic being cut in half. Or another resident that is in a neighborhood that does not want to have 1,000 or 500 cars diverted a day down a street where their kids walk to school that's not meant to be a major thoroughfare. Like, there are plenty of viable reasons for this disagreement that are not conspiratorial.
We got so many good listener questions for you.
I'm ready.
I think we have one.
You want to? Okay, you're right. We got time for one.
We got to wrap it up. Should I do the DPS question?
This one's great.
Okay, so we have a question from our listener. Hi, this is Matt. I'm a DPS teacher, and I had a question for Mayor Mike. Former Mayor Pena recently proposed merging DPS and the city-county. I want to know Mayor Mike's opinion on the current state of DPS, the collaboration between the two entities, and what are the most important ways the city and county can support the school system?
Wow. A lot of great questions. I think the current state of collaboration is strong. I meet with the superintendent about every month. We chatted just 2 days ago. That can be everything from working on how we're going to build affordable housing for teachers to how we have safe crosswalks for kids to, I would say, one of our biggest places for partnership for us is after school programming. That's a real combined effort of making sure kids of all ages have great places to go that are meaningful for them and safe. And the other one is work for high school kids. We think youth work opportunities for DPS high school students is a great chance for them to grow, develop skills, make some money, prepare for a career. So I think the 3 big efforts we work on with them right now are early childhood, our after school programming, and our youth work plan. And I think those are going very well. Mayor Pena and I have talked about this a number of times. I don't think it makes sense right now for us to look at merging the school district and the city. We have plenty of hard things we're trying to solve. They have a lot of things they're trying to solve. There are some cities that have that mayoral control system. It's relatively rare in the West. It's mostly East Coast cities. So we're looking always for ways for more collaboration, but we do not have a plan to try to take over the school district at this stage.
Okay. You obviously are not in the school choice situation I'm in right now. That is a separate conversation.
You want me to take it over? Would that make it easier?
No.
I'm not saying school choice is easy. It's hard. I've done it many times and lost many rounds, but I do know it is a lot of options.
Mayor?
Yes.
Paul, thank you so much.
It's great to see you all. Thanks for having me. It's always fun.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why don't you take a minute to tell Jason Gallardo about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you later.